Okay, so what does it mean to have chemistry with someone? Well, in simple terms, having chemistry means that when you're with that person, time flies by. You just feel really good about yourself and you enjoy being around them. And this is true for friendships as well as romantic relationships. And the weirdest part about chemistry is that it's almost impossible to fake. Like, you can pretend to be nice to someone, or pretend to like them, or even pretend to enjoy spending time with them, but you can't pretend to have chemistry with them. Chemistry is one of those things where either you got it or you don't. But what if you could learn how to have chemistry with anybody? What if you had a technique that was almost like a cheat code that you could use every single time you met someone new to instantly create a sense of closeness, connection, and have them like you more? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. So here's the thing. You can actually use something called the mirror neuron system to have better chemistry with other people. This is a scientifically proven phenomenon where simply copying another person's behavior will make you feel closer to them, even if it's completely unconscious. It's literally baked into our DNA. In fact, researchers have found that the mirror neuron system is active whenever you see somebody else perform an action, but also whenever you perform that action yourself. So this means that if you copy somebody else's behavior, your brain is going to release the same chemicals as if you were performing that action yourself. And this is why you feel closer to people who behave like you, and why you feel repelled by people whose behaviors are completely opposite to yours. Basically, the mirror neuron system is what allows us to understand other people and empathize with their feelings. In fact, neuroscientists believe that this is one of the main reasons why human beings are so social. We are literally wired to copy other people's behavior because it makes us feel closer to them. Now, there's a lot of research on the mirror neuron system. There's an entire book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat and Other Clinical Tales by Oliver Sacks that talks about a man who has damage to his mirror neuron system and he can't understand other people at all because he can't empathize with them. So he doesn't know how they're re-feeling just by looking at their face or seeing what they're redoing. Now, even though we know that the mirror neuron system exists, we still don't fully understand it. But what we do know is that you can use it to your advantage. If you want to have chemistry with someone, all you have to do is copy them. Now, obviously, you don't want to be creepy about it. You don't want to stare at them and copy everything they do. That would be weird. Instead, you want to subtly mirror them. For example, if they cross their arms, you can cross your arms too. If they take a sip of their drink, you can take a sip of your drink as well. Or if they lean back in their chair, you can lean back in your chair too. Obviously, you don't want to be super obvious about it. You just want to mirror them subtly so that they don't even realize what you're doing. This will trigger their mirror neuron system and make them feel closer to you, which means they'll like you more. This is the exact same reason why it helps to ask people to repeat your name. By getting them to say your name out loud, you're tricking their mirror neuron system into thinking that they're becoming more like you, which means they'll like you more. Also, this is why it helps to give people a compliment and then ask them to repeat that compliment back to you. For example, you might say, "You have beautiful eyes," and then ask them, "What did I say about your eyes?" This way, they'll have to repeat what you said, which will make them like you more. I know it sounds kind of manipulative, but it's just using science to your advantage. Everyone does this all the time. It's just something you don't normally think about. Whenever you meet someone new, you always subconsciously try to get them to like you more. You just don't normally think about it. And most of the things you do are probably not very effective, like trying to find similarities between the two of you. Sure, it's good to find common ground, but it's not going to create the same effect as actually copying the person's behavior. For example, let's say you meet someone new and they tell you that they love Star Wars. You might say, "Oh, me too. I love Star Wars." Even though it's technically true, your brain isn't buying into it. Your brain knows that you're just saying it to have something to talk about. So it's not going to release any of those feel-good chemicals. But if instead you said, "That's awesome. I've always wanted to watch Star Wars, but I never got around to it. What's your favorite movie?" Not only would this make them like you more because you're showing genuine interest in them, but it would also make you feel better about yourself. See, your brain knows that you're actually interested in what they have to say. So it's going to reward you with those feel-good chemicals. And this is why it's important to actually listen to people and show genuine interest in them. It's not enough to just say, "Oh, that's interesting," while you're thinking about what you're gonna say next. You actually have to listen to them and process what they're saying. This will not only make them like you more, but it will make you feel better about yourself as well. Of course, you don't want to fake interest in someone. Like if they're telling you a story about their life and you start daydreaming, that's not going to make them like you more. You want to be genuinely interested in them and actually listen to what they have to say. One of the best ways to do this is to ask follow-up questions. For example, if they tell you that they went to the movies, you could ask, "What did you see?" And then if they tell you what movie they saw, you could ask, "How was it?" This shows that you're actually listening to them and you care about what they have to say. It also gives them a chance to talk more about themselves, which everyone loves. People love talking about themselves. In fact, there's an entire field of psychology dedicated to studying this called self-psychology. So if you want to make someone like you more, just talk about themselves. Ask them questions about themselves and then listen to what they have to say. Another thing that you can do to make someone like you more is to give them a compliment. Giving people compliments releases oxytocin in their brain, which is a feel-good chemical. It also makes you feel good about yourself because you're remaking the other person feel good about themselves. Of course, you don't want to be creepy about it. You don't want to stare at someone while you re-complimenting them, or you'll come off as weird. Instead, you want to compliment them subtly and then look away. This will trigger their mirror neuron system and make them feel closer to you, which means they'll like you more. Lastly, you can also make someone like you more by making them laugh. Humor is one of the best ways to bond with someone. Making someone laugh releases endorphins in their brain, which are feel-good chemicals. It also makes you feel good about yourself because you're making the other person feel good about themselves. So if you want to make someone like you more, just make them laugh. Tell them a joke. Make fun of yourself. Just do something to make them smile. At the end of the day, making someone like you more comes down to one thing: making them feel good about themselves. When you make someone feel good about themselves, they feel good about you. It's really that simple. So if you want to have better chemistry with someone, just make them feel good about themselves. Make them laugh, compliment them, and ask them questions about themselves. By doing these three things, you'll make them feel closer to you, which means they'll like you more. Now, before you go, I want to make something perfectly clear. I am not a licensed therapist or a mental health professional. I am just a guy who has read a lot of books on psychology. With that being said, if you're struggling with your mental health, please reach out to a therapist or a counselor. They can help you work through whatever you're going through and develop healthy coping mechanisms.